Carol, living your best life means.
Finding joy in both work and family.
1, 2, 3.
Let's go!
Welcome to Living Your Best Life, the podcast where we refuse to choose between success and well-being, between purpose and prosperity, between taking care of others and taking care of ourselves. I'm Dr. Sheila, and today we're diving into a conversation that every working mother needs to hear. If you've ever felt like you're supposed to choose between your career ambitions and your family, and if you've been told that having it all is a myth, this episode is for you. Today, I am so thrilled to welcome Carol Evans, former CEO and president of Working Mother Media and author of the groundbreaking book, This Is How We Do It. During her remarkable career, she supported and helped millions of working mothers in this country, proving that working and motherhood don't just mix, they bring joy, fulfillment, and extraordinary success. And I can attest to that truth because my career and motherhood has been so rewarding, full of joy, and so fulfilled. Carol, happy Women's History Month, and welcome to Living Your Best Life with Dr. Sheila.
Thank you so much. I'm so proud to be here, and I just have watched your career and your company grow, and I'm so proud of everything you've accomplished.
Yes, thank you so much, Carol. So we call our audience, our listeners, power bosses because when they come here, they get inspired, they get empowered, and they're equipped with tools to thrive. So that is how we make our power bosses. We're going to jump right in with our opening question. Carol, you spent decades championing working mothers and proving that success and motherhood could coexist and they could coexist beautifully. But I'm curious, what was the moment or the experience in your own life that made you realize this was the mission you needed to pursue?
Oh my goodness. I think it actually was a long time ago when my mother went back to work. I was 12 and she was had never worked and she was struggling. I helped her as in ways that only a 12-year-old girl can. I helped her with her clothes and her hair. And I realized how she was struggling. So when I got the chance to launch Working Mother magazine, I understood deeply what it was about. I wasn't a mother yet, but my mother had gone through this with me. And I knew exactly what I needed to do for others because I knew what she needed. I tell you, that was like a life experience to say, I could help all these women who are doing this anyway. We were already a huge portion of the workforce. And, 70% of moms were working. So we were already doing it. We didn't have to really make that decision. We already had.
And the beauty of it, Carol, is we were told that we could not do it. And that
Yes.
was why your work was so important because our fight and our plight, like you said, we were already doing it. We were working against resistance, but you
Yeah.
came in and you reassured us and you confirmed for us that you're already doing it and this is how you do it even better. So, what about the delivery room revelation? In your book, you talk about that. What happened in that delivery room?
Oh, it was so funny. I mean, it was my second child, and the first child was a C-section. The second child was not. And I just was shocked at what childbirth was like without a C-section. And I said, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I want to go home. And in my heart, I kind of meant it. I just was like, no, 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 I can't do this. And my wonderful doctor, Dr. Yan, she said, but Carol, you are doing it. You are doing it. The baby's almost out. And that to me was something that stuck with me because, I had a moment of true self doubt. Could I do this? Did I want to? But I already was. And it was a beautiful thing. And it was the most important thing to be able to know that it would all be okay because I was in the thick of it already.
Yeah, and I love that you said that we do it with joy and fulfillment because that is the reason why I started this podcast is because it seems like we're always waiting for something else to happen before we find the joy and the fulfillment. But we have the joy and the fulfillment through it all. I know that I have. I wake up in the morning and I could dread the day in front of me with the workload and the family responsibilities, or I can work up and say, aren't I lucky? Aren't I blessed? Look at what I get to do, and look how rewarding it is to do it. So we have that choice to shift that mindset. When you
Yes.
came out with your book, you came out at a time when that opt out revolution was huge, that these highly educated and phenomenal leaders, women that we're talking about, they were leaving their successful careers because the challenges seemed too great,
Yeah.
but you took a completely different approach. And instead of asking, can women do both, you asked, how are women already doing both and finding joy in it? What made you, what were, talk about some of the things that came out when you started this journey of making them focus on the joy and the fulfillment instead of the just survival?
Well, the first thing was is that there's a huge community of working mothers that didn't know each other. And they didn't know about each other. And so I always told women, I said, the most common letter we get at Working Mother magazine, and we got, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of letters. The most common thing that almost every letter said was, thank you so much, Carol. I don't feel so alone. And I think that was part of the problem back then, was that, they people felt like they were isolated in this lifestyle, and other people, they might have been surrounded by people who weren't working, or they might have a mother-in-law who said you shouldn't be working, whatever it was. But when they found out how many mothers were working and how we were all doing it, and saw images of themselves in our magazine and in my speeches, they just grabbed onto that and said, I am not alone. I'm not the only one doing this. There's there's millions and millions of mothers doing this, and I'll find my way the way they have. One of the things also that just meant so much to me was that at some point I read a study by Ellen Galinsky, and she said that this was a big theme of our work. She said that if the mother is happy, the children are happy. And so I thought about that, and I thought about that, and I felt like that rings true, because children get their sense of joy from those around them. And who's more important than their mother? So I shifted something. I reframed a daily habit of mine and never did it again. I used to go off to work and I'd say, oh, I'm so sorry I have to go to work. I wanted her to know, and Robert to know, that I wished I could be home with them. But I didn't really wish that. I was really, I always wanted to be with them, but I loved my career. I loved working. I loved being productive in that way. And so I started saying, oh, I'm excited to go to work today, and I can't wait to come home to you tonight. It's going to be so wonderful to hug you and see you tonight when I get back from work. That was a huge
That,
shift. They caught the
that is so
joy. They
beautiful.
got the joy. They became excited. My daughter started walking around with a briefcase. My son was like imitating me making speeches. It was a turning point.
That is so beautiful. And at a time when in our ear we have these negative messages that we can't do it or shouldn't be doing it or should be guilty about doing it, you shifted thousands, if not millions, of women's
Mm.
mindset to show us that we could do it with joy and bring that joy in our children alone. I really
Right.
appreciate that. Let's talk about that little guilt factor
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
the things that you said. You've been quoted as having three full-time jobs: CEO, mother, and wife. For listeners who are juggling these multiple roles and listening to us, with that mindset you just told us about, are there any other mindset shifts that allow you to see your three roles as integrated rather than competing?
Yes, absolutely. No matter what your job is, like I was a CEO, but if I was a librarian, it would be the same thing, and I would feel the same pressure and possibly the same, level of guilt, because, there's a myth that when you get higher up, everything's harder. But no, it's really easier because you have people that you can rely on, that you can download to, or can ask them to do things that you just can't fit into your day. And people at a different level of their career or a different area, they don't have staff to ask to help them. So it's a big issue that it's all the same, whether you're at the higher level or at the beginning of your career or the middle. When you're a working mother, you are taking on 3 jobs. And the job, what we used to call the second shift, that's the most important part of it, because women find that at home, they are not only being the mom, they're being the chief operating officer of their household. They are planning, thinking ahead, making the appointments, doing all the work that encompasses running a household in whatever way they do it. So that's a huge part of the job. And of course, integrating your life means integrating people around you into your life. You can't do this alone. You need to ask your coworkers for help. You need to insist that your husband, if you have one, doesn't help you around the house. No asking for help with housework. They need to take responsibility for not just housework, but planning. You have to ask everyone to participate in this. It might be at work, it might be asking your mother in law to take care of the kids, it might be telling your husband, seriously, training your husband possibly, that he has to not help you with the housework, he has to be a full participant in childcare, in planning, cooking, whatever it is that he is willing to do. You have to make sure that he's a co-partner, not just a helper. So all of that makes you integrate together the 3 jobs, because they are really one job that you're doing at different times of the day.
I love what you just said because, listeners, what she's saying is we're not utilizing our resources. The
Right.
higher you climb, your compensation increases, it better. So the
Yeah.
higher you climb, the more resources you're able to utilize. So make sure you're utilizing your resources, whether you're paying for housekeeping to come in and help, or if you as CEO that you're delegating responsibilities in your home. And I love that you said that you're all in this together. I know for me, when I did a mind shift with my daughter and let her know that she was a part of this, and our success was family success because we get to go to Disney World, or we'll go to the beach, or we'll do this. And so what I hear you saying is you integrated the family into the work as well, that created success and joy among everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I used to practice my speeches at home, and my daughter would get up and give her little speech that she made up. you know? So it was that was just always joyful. And of course, things change as kids get older. But if you keep them involved in your work, they're always there. It's always a part of who they are, uh, as growing up to even being adults.
The work that we do, what I love about it is we get to hear from so many other leaders and so many other working mothers. In the surveys that you did, what are some of the comments or that you read where they were talking about mothers found that 92% were satisfied with their lives? And how did these women manage the guilt? Do you have any stories that you've heard from others you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, no, I think that mothers, when they share their guilt with each other, when they talk about being mothers with each other, that's a huge release and a huge relief, because they find out, or read articles, they find out that we're all in the same boat, and that this is a problem of self reflection. If we think about guilt, what are we being guilty about? We are taking on the role of being a mom. And one of the most important things to emphasize that I heard from women is, I'm a mother first, which means that if anything happens with your kids, you are going to focus on that no matter where you are in the world. And when I was on the stage saying, I'm a mother first, women in the audience would tell me always, that is such a powerful statement to hear from a CEO. I'm a mother first. Okay, that means I can be a mother first too. And making sure that you put your children at the center of your life without losing out on a career. I think that makes all of us feel like we're doing the right thing by our kids. We can't help it. We love them so darn much. And that's a powerful feeling to say, I am able to be a mother first.
And that's really why we're out here working, because we want to be able to provide them the best possible life that we can. And I don't see how we could do that sitting home waiting on someone else to do it for us. Okay. But, there's so many women that struggle with feeling like asking for help means that they're
Yeah.
failing. How do we shift that mindset?
Well, that's actually pretty easy. I had a lot of fun with this because with our readers, because actually people love to help. And we don't notice that. We don't tell ourselves that. But think about yourself. If someone says to you, "Oh, I need help with this. I can't lift this suitcase to the place in the airplane where it's supposed to be," and you ask a guy standing there if he'll help you. Oh my God, he's so proud. He picks up that suitcase, he throws it in there, and he gives you a big smile. Why? Because when we help other people, we feel what? We feel powerful, we feel strong, capable, loving. We feel good about ourselves. We get a moment of great joy when we help others. And but on the other hand, when we think about asking for help, we think it's a terrible burden. Why is it a burden for others to give us help when it's a joy for us to help others? It makes no sense. So I tell people, you're doing them a favor. You're asking for help and you're making them feel really good and proud of themselves. So honestly, it's a huge shift in mindset. It's a big shift, but it's true. Everyone wants to help and feel good about themselves.
It is so true. And also, even when you have to hire help, you should not feel guilty. You should be saying, I am helping another business owner grow their business. If you are hiring someone to prep meals or, cook meals for bring in dinner, or if you're hiring someone for housekeeping, or if you're hiring whatever, we are a part of helping the economy thrive when we are outsourcing other services to help us. True or false?
Totally. And I think that, a lot of us, we had women who came in and helped take care of our children in two career households or single career households. Those women have children too, and they need this job as much as I need my job. I mean, one of the things we don't talk about a lot is that women need to work. This is a fact of life. The two career household changed the American economy more than anything else. And for single moms, how are they going to make it, and how are they going to provide for their children if they don't work? So while we are excited about becoming power women and excited about really finding our way in the career, we have to realize that we all need to work. Human beings need to work, and women pushing into that workforce has changed our family life and our trajectory forever.
And Carol, that is true from entry level to CEO. That is true what you just said. So let's jump to that childcare investment. You made a powerful point about childcare costs, that even if your salary barely covers childcare, if you are a newlywed or new mom, or you feel like you're just starting your career out and you're saying your salary barely covers childcare, you talk about how that's not wasted money. Speak about that.
Oh, it's an investment in yourself, in your family, in your learning, your ability to learn a career. So it is a struggle. It is a struggle, and I faced that myself. With okay, I'm spending this much money. Oh my gosh, it's a lot. It can be a lot, and it's a lot for everybody at every economic level. But to think of it as an investment in the bank of your career, in the bank of your family life, because it's not just wages that you lose if you drop out. You lose the learning cycle. You lose the cycle of advancement, and it's so hard to catch up, especially in this age of technology. I mean, ever since we started our careers, you're younger than I am, but ever since I started my career, and even more so at the beginning of yours, technology has just so rapidly moved us ahead. And the learning factor is so important. You have to develop those skills, whatever the skills are. And also, I think there's a huge issue of looking at your career as not a continuum going up like that. It's not like this. It's more like this. You can go up and down. And so you don't have to be, probably, let me just state that again differently. It's your career trajectory is not just straight up. It is almost inevitably a wave kind of going up and down over the years, over the decades of your
Mm-hmm.
career. So
Mm-hmm.
for you to take a step completely back from it, it's going to disrupt a lot of that. Whereas if you just really work on accommodation, really work on finding how you can be the best mom and the best employee or boss that you can be at that moment. That's what's really important, not just constantly, you know, grabbing for the brass ring.
And that is so crucially important, because I hear so many women saying, I've done the math and I thought, why am I even working with the cost of childcare? So, as Carol has said, remember, this is an investment. It's keeping your skills fresh, it's keeping you prepared for the future. And Carol just shared with us the wisdom from other successful working mothers who are on a career path, and your career path can be up and down. It doesn't have to be the same at all times. You give yourself permission to have seasons in your career. Let's jump into the partnership factor. Your book
Mm.
talks about the importance of supportive spouses and partners who are genuinely engaged in parenting. How do working mothers build that partnership? And what do you say to women who are doing it without their partner support also?
To take the last question first, people who don't have partners, what I see is that they build a different network. They build a network where neighbors, friends, mothers, sisters take a certain portion of that partnership responsibility. And that is really, truly important and helpful. They might use resources in the community too, like their church or their community center, school programs. But for women who are married, this is a long haul. You don't, just create the a man who has all of this understanding of what it's like to be a really good parent and a good partner. It doesn't come just like that. My best advice is to encourage your partner by saying that they're doing things right. So many of us spend time correcting our husbands, including me. Uh, and that can be discouraging to them because they think they'll never get it right because you're the mom and he's just the dad. That attitude, if we carry that, that impacts them tremendously. So the kind of optimism and joy and belief in ourselves, we need to transfer that to our partners and believe in them and expect it. Seriously, don't ask them for help. Expect them to be co-parents, to be co-household managers. Expect it. And sometimes you might have to really, think strategically about how to make that work for your husband or your partner, but take that time and think about it and really acknowledge that this isn't necessarily going to be easy, but that this is important for the long haul.
That's very good practical wisdom. So, you know, this is Women's History Month, and I can think of so many amazing women, including yourself, that we celebrate and salute, and um, that made the way for us to be where we are today. But let's talk about today. This is
Hmm.
2026, and you see the statistics. Is it 300,000 women have lost a job? It's 300,000 plus, let's just say that. So, not being tone deaf, let's talk about what happens when your phone isn't ringing, you've experienced career ups and downs. What advice do you have for working mothers who are facing job loss, career pivots, or seasons like we are dealing with right now when the work just isn't flowing the way that we had hoped it would be today?
I always go back to your network, and you might not realize what your network really is. Some of us, really pay a lot of attention to our network, but no matter who you are and what you're doing, you have a network. So you can think of things like this. Who did I work with 10 years ago who I really enjoyed working with, but I haven't talked to since? Don't be afraid to call that person and say, I haven't talked to you in a long time, but when we were working together, I really enjoyed our relationship, and I want to tell you that I'm looking for a new position, and you know me better than most people, so I'm just calling for advice or connections or anything, any way that you might be able to help me. You'll be amazed. People are like, "Oh yeah, I remember you." They always remember you. If you're remembering them in a positive way, they're remembering you in a positive way, and they will help. So don't forget about really looking through your network. I also put out the fact that you're looking, put it out and say, I'm looking to everybody. You don't know where anything is going to come from, but do it in a positive manner. I mean, yeah, okay, you just lost your job, you're really scared, you don't know where you're ever going to find another one, but to those people who might help you, positivity is so much better than moaning and groaning. Saying I am going to find myself a wonderful position. I do want to state that this is a tremendously difficult time because big swaths of people have been let go from government jobs. And that has affected so many women because women are more likely to have government jobs. Black women make up a huge portion of the government workforce. And so certain people are being hit harder than others. And I think that we, as women who are super bosses, and we as women who are looking out for our sisters in the workforce, we need to be thinking about what we can do to help these large groups of women who have lost their job. And if you can't think of it on a macro level, then just think of it on a micro level and think about who might be having a problem with their career, and really reach out to them. Say, how can I help? What can I do? I want to support you.
We'll get through this. Listeners, if you're out there seeking employment, if you know someone that's seeking employment, we can get through this together. That is excellent advice, Carol. So we are winding down to the end of our hour. And my closing question for you is your advice to your younger self. If you could go back and talk to the woman you were at the beginning of this journey, that exhausted, scared, thinking you couldn't do it, what would you tell her?
It's so interesting. First of all, when I was younger in my career, it was so hard. I was, in a very early stage of women moving into management, and I certainly wasn't prepared. I had a really strong instinct for sales, and so I was very successful right away when I moved into my career, my first jobs, because I was just kind of had a talent for sales. But I didn't know how to behave. I reminded myself of my mother. I didn't know how to behave in a career. I didn't know how to dress. It was so difficult, and I didn't know what my path was. But I feel that you know I feel that if I had been able to look at myself, even with all that kind of messiness of early career, I might have been able to tell myself that I was doing it, that I did find employment, and that people did find that I was very useful in my role. So, those of you who are starting out, uh, or those of you who are thinking about this what's coming up to you in your career, just enjoy the time that you have now. Maybe you're in the messy time where you're trying to figure it out, or maybe you're a lawyer and you're really on a straight path. Maybe you're in the middle of your career and you're making incredibly important choices about which direction to take. Just sit for the moment and think, I get to do this. It's not that I have to do this, although it is, but I get to do this, and reflect on that wonderful spirit, really, of being allowed to have a career, being allowed to move ahead, being able to have a career, being able to move ahead. I say just enjoy that part, knowing that that's not the whole of your career. It's going to change and shift and grow and go up and down, but enjoy the moment.
Listeners, enjoy the moment, enjoy the journey. Carol, I have to tell you, your work has been such an inspiration to me personally. This is how we do it. The Working Mothers Manifesto, was transformative, not only to me, to so many other women. And, we dealt with the intersection of motherhood, career, and our personal fulfillment. And you made it real for us. And I can't thank you enough as we celebrate Women's History Month, the month of March. You truly are, you wear the crown. You truly wear the crown. The difference between when we talk about power bosses on living your best life, it is take off the superwoman cape and put your power boss crown on. That means take care of yourself, earn your worth, do all the things that you have done. So, Carol, you truly are wearing the power boss crown, and we thank you so much for sharing with us how we can do the same and the path that we are able to take, having both a fulfilling career, a wonderful family, and being joyful doing that.
Sheila, I just want to thank you for sharing that wonderful crown, because you are doing so much great work, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you for living your best life. Subscribe for more episodes that will help you thrive and live like a power boss. You can also listen to Living Your Best Life on all major podcast platforms. Share with others in your life and visit lydlpodcast.com.